Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's now 15 minutes to the hour of 7 o'clock here on Morning Barbados this Friday morning. Let's introduce you now to Karen Collins, who is a Quality Assurance Officer with the Barbados Accreditation Council. Ms. Collins, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Sir, Pearson will do nicely, thank you. I'm well, thank you so much for asking. Now listen, let's get an overview broadly from you of what is the Barbados Accreditation Council and then specifically what is your role as Quality Assurance Officer there.
The Barbados Accreditation Council has two broad rules. The first one is to register and re-register post-secondary and tertiary level educational providers and to accredit and re-accredit their programs as well, the institutions and their programs. Our second broad rule is to issue the Certificate of Recognition of CARICOM Skills to CARICOM nationals, and also to examine and verify those certificates of recognition which would have been issued by other member states. So those are our two broad rules.
Right. And now, as a
As
Quality Assurance Officer,
yes, as Quality Assurance Officer, our role is to do all of the activities related to that. What we would do is to really work with our educational providers who wish to register or to pursue accreditation to help them to get that done successfully. And it is a journey, and we work with them to get that done. We also carry out the research and investigations for those certificates of recognition of CARICOM skills. We also work on some of the other services which we offer, which would be recognition of institution or program, as well as recognition of qualifications. So it's quite a bit that we do.
yes, clearly. Now, there's some who are saying, but why is it important for me to be registered and accredited? What would you say to that?
Registration is the first step, and it's a very important step. What that means is that you have met certain standards to operate in Barbados. And it means that your operations have achieved a certain level of legitimacy and credibility because you have gone through this process against those standards.
And so it no doubt would bring for the user of your services some degree of comfort knowing that when we come to the Barbados Accreditation Council, we are going to get legit responses, so to speak, that we avoid instances where people are going to take us for a ride. So for the
Exactly.
student, let's talk a little bit about the student, why it's important for the student to get involved and to register and be accredited with that council, the Accreditation Council.
Well, it's not the student who
Necessarily.
would register. No, it's the educational institution. But what that does, the benefits are twofold. One, the institution is able to say, look, you are interested in entering a quality institution, an institution that has been evaluated against certain standards and has met those standards or exceeded them. And when you come to us, you are getting a quality education. And that's the assurance for the student that where we are going, it's legitimate, it's credible, my qualification will be valid. And so the benefits are twofold for the organization who has to register and also for the student, because ultimately the focus is on the student, the customer. We want to ensure that any student in Barbados who goes to any educational provider, that they are receiving a quality education that has met required standards.
And the same thing would hold true for the employer, because when that individual comes to
Exactly.
my organization saying, I have accreditation in whatever, the employer has to have a place of comfort knowing that that particular qualification advanced is legitimate.
Yes, definitely. So the benefits are there for everyone. And even as a country, it augurs well for the country as well because it says that the institutions that we have in this country are meeting international standards.
Do you get a lot of inquiries coming in from employers, though, about the certificates that are presented to them?
We do get some, but mostly it is the student who will come. It will probably most likely come, especially for our recognition of qualification service. Those customers will come because they want a job somewhere and it might have been queried. And so when we do a recognition of qualification, we say to that person and likely their employer that this qualification which was pursued and attained is credible. It comes from a credible accredited institution.
And so, therefore, you're allaying any fear of any fraudulent activity because there are courses available in every space on the earth, it seems like now, particularly online. And so,
Yes,
anyone can put up a web page portal that looks legitimate, but at the end of it is
definitely.
not necessarily legitimate. How can the Barbados Accreditation Council help me to avoid any fraudulent activity of mine really, in going that route?
As I said, Pearson, what we do is engage in research. We have several partners all over the world that we are able to connect with to carry out our investigations. And they, from time to time, connect with us when they need to carry out their own investigations. And so we start that process when someone comes and they make an application. We start the process then of doing the research, reaching out to who we need to reach out to find out about the recognition or accreditation status of any program or institution that has been brought before us. And we are able to get that information and provide it to our clients.
It's a very important service that you're rendering there where that's concerned. It's critical that we do check it out before we start to shell it out, our monies, that is.
Yes.
So how long is that process, having come to you and said, I'd like you to do a little bit of investigation into this particular program or this particular service provider. How long after would I have to wait to hear from you?
We say a minimum of 40 working days. And I'll explain this to you. As I said earlier, we have to reach out to organizations, partner institutions all over the world. And we have qualifications from all over the world to different languages, etc. And so we are dependent on response times, sometimes language barriers, etc. But we are dependent on how and when those other institutions respond to us. And I can tell you, especially that in this COVID time, where many people are working remotely, those times have increased because of the way people are communicating, etc., and the access they may have. So especially now at this time, it has that time has been prolonged. But we say a minimum of 40 working days, and our aim is to do it before that.
Yes, yes. You want to exceed my expectation by coming back
Yes,
sooner rather than later.
rather
And
than later.
we were just sharing your web page with our viewers on the screen just a moment ago
Yes,
because there's
please.
so much we can access through coming that portal. So let's talk a little bit about once we come to your website and in providing a bit of information. I saw there just now we can see a list of accredited associations with which you work and
Yes,
the
please.
level of degree that one can access coming out of that particular program with those associations. So what else and how else can we begin to be settled in our mind that we're on the right path towards accreditation?
Well, the website is definitely a good place to start. And be mindful though that on the website you will see those who have completed their registration. However, there are others who may be in the process that you won't see there. It does not mean that they are not in the process, but they wouldn't be there because it hasn't been finalized yet. So you can also call the Barbados Accreditation Council and make applications if there's any other institution outside of the country that you need to find out about.
Right.
Yes.
And so you will accredit us, you will allow us to be able to, well, you would assess our offering and you'll be able to accredit us from there. The forms, though, because, you know, it's well and good, we can either physically walk in, distancing protocols observed, but we can also ourselves
Definitely.
download those forms and upload them back to you for processing.
I don't think that facility is there yet for you to upload them back to us. We are working on that. I believe next week our information officer, Marcus Myers, might be able to speak to you more about that
Okay.
aspect of it.
The ability to be able to start the process, we can do so by downloading the
Yes, you
forms.
can
Take your
definitely
time.
do so by downloading the forms. Yes.
All right. So we can either
And
physically
you can
walk in.
call us. Yes.
Can
You
we
can
physically
physically
walk
walk
in?
in and get a form as well. And if you need any information, you can give us a call and we can help you because that is really our job to help you understand. Because very often people will say that it's quite a detailed process. And when they see the information, they may get a little flustered, etc. But our job really is to assist them to facilitate their understanding and their completion of the form.
Right. So you'll walk with us. You'll hold our hand through the process as well.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
How difficult or easy is it as a CARICOM skilled to be able to access the CARICOM skilled certificate?
It is actually quite, I don't want to say easy, but you come in and you make your application, the relevant checks are done, and we say that you can have your certificate of recognition within 7 working days.
Ah, that's quick. That's very, very
Yes.
quick. So it's good to hear that. So clearly there's much more that we should be talking about with you guys at the Barbados Accreditation Council because you bring comfort in knowing that we can and that our certification allows us to be able to achieve so much more. I want to thank you
Yes,
today, Ms.
please.
Collins, Karen Collins, the Quality Assurance Officer with the Barbados Accreditation Council. Of course, to be continued. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yes.
Have a great weekend, Karen.
Thanks. You too, Pearson.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for having us.
She called me Pearson at the end. Thank you very much. Have a good day now.